If you now look at the packaging, are there differences in perception of beauty packaging?
Packaging is one of the most trickiest, I would say, one of the most tricky things that manufacturers are facing, because normally they are designed for the global markets, but the codes and semiotics of packagings worldwide are very different. For example, Japan has very strong color codes. If you go red or pink, it will definitely be a female product. No way that you can position in beauty, position a male product that way. Then if you look at shapes and forms and materials in Japan, it needs to be very refined, sophisticated materials that always combine technological science with organic lines. So you will see very organic shapes and lines in the packagings. That looks refined to a Japanese. When you look at the US, it's always a very dominant logo that gives people an immediate code that they can follow, and they say, okay, this is my brand. The other one is that they like to play with golds and other metal effects that kind of upgrade packagings, which tends to look rather old or traditional, or maybe even a little techy in some other markets. Even in Germany, we tend to look at golden things as being a little older, and that sometimes signifies, okay, that's for the ladies above 40 or 50. In Germany, we like the very simple packagings that are very clear and very sophisticated, but in a very understated way. We don't like an overstatement. We don't like too much fuzz. We think it's worth more if it has less frills. In Germany, the packaging, the packagings that are successful, like, for example, Chanel is a successful packaging, even though it's very simple and very square. That works really well, and that's in the tradition of Bauhaus, I would say, in Germany, that we like the non-overdone packagings. So it's very, very hard to launch a global packaging and be successful in every market with all of the with this one packaging, because the perception will be really different. The same is true for claims. For example, the L'Oreal claim, because I'm worth it, is not the same in every market. In Germany, it translates to because I'm worth it to myself. And in Japan, because you have a shining worth to others. And that is a very smart way to translate things. It is very important for the go-to-market strategies, for the communication strategies, for packaging, innovation, and all areas that manufacturers really make sure they know the cultural codes. They can have global brands, they can have one brand identity and equity, but they need to be able to translate to the cultural code to make sure that the way people perceive it in the country is the way they wanted this brand to be perceived. So I think that is key. And sometimes manufacturers tend to go by segmentations, which is good, but one needs to keep in mind that the segmentation over the borders of countries completely change. So if you have a traditionalist or a postmodernist or whatever you might want to call your segments, or a hedonist, a Japanese hedonist and an American hedonist will be completely different from each other and have different culture codes.
And now if you look at cosmetic ingredients, are there cultural differences too? Do women expect different ingredients in different cultures?
It's interesting to see that the German women are very much about natural ingredients. That is because we believe that the truth lies in nature, and even if we believe that we get more effects from scientific ingredients, we still have something like a guilty conscience when we use it. So 50% of the ladies that don't use natural cosmetics, they feel they should. So that's one of the interesting facts. We always believe that whatever comes from Mother Nature will be better than whatever people came up with. In the US, they are not really concerned with ingredients. What they are concerned with is instant gratification. It needs to have an instant effect. It needs to really work and be visible, instantly visible. And then, of course, if you ask them directly, they will say, of course, I am interested in ingredients. But the truth is, if it works, they'll buy it. And the Japanese want to make sure that the ingredients are coming from the newest technology, from ideally a company that they trust and that are pioneers in their industry. And ideally, it's a hybrid of nature and technology. So it's something like nanotechnology, lotus effect, or coming from nature but refined. So the refined nature, the refined natural ingredient with the intelligence of human being, that combination would be the most interesting for the Japanese.
And if you look at future trends for cosmetics, what do you expect?
There's the key for me, the key trend in future is non-invasive technologies, because I think that we have reached the plateau of surgeries, beauty surgeries, and now we are heading towards an industry that needs to really make sure they find solutions like ultrasound that reduces fat, that makes the eyelashes grow longer, that reduces the growth of hair on legs or under the arms. So everything that manipulates the body and the cells and maybe even the DNA and works towards bringing your body to doing whatever you like it to do. So it still looks natural and you still can say, well, it's me, it's not the product. That is the success of the future, because the invasive technologies, I think they have come to an end, and there are the first signs, and I know that in the industry people are investing money into the non-invasive technologies. That's the trend number one. The second one is eco-luxury. It is of course the sustainable brands and the sustainable offers that need to be ethical on the one hand, and that becomes more and more important, and of course ecological. So that is very relevant. It needs to be sexy. In Germany, it's still rooted in the 70s, where it has been less sexy. But overall, when you look at global markets, it needs to be easy to understand. It shouldn't be too complex. It needs to be beautiful, easily accessible. It needs to be fun and still sustainable, so you have a good conscience when you buy. That's the third. Then the fourth for me is ethical brands. So in the year 2050, we will, if we look at the world population, and if we consider the whole world being 10 people, then 8 of them will be Asians or Africans, and only 1 of them will be North American and European. So overall, where the money lies is really in the ethical products. So they should at least be ethically neutral, or even specifically made for Asian hair, for Afro-American hair, and so on. So that is one huge field that is still not very big in the big companies worldwide, but I know that they are starting on working on that, and I think that is really relevant. And the last one is the invisible areas that currently still signify age. That is the throat, that's the hands, that is intimate areas, that's the elbows, that's the knees. And all these areas will be the next big focus after we have kind of solved the problem of the face, more or less, and made ourselves look young up to the age of 50. We will have to make sure that the areas that still tell people how old we really are need to be cared for. So I think the next thing that the manufacturers will go for, or should go for, is make sure that no one can see my age by looking at my throat, my hands, my knees. And that involves also mostly non-invasive technologies.